Palo Alto city leaders taking action to crack down on the growing number of RVs on the streets. It's a problem we've seen in several Bay Area cities, and Palo Alto isn't just going after the RVs.
In parking lots, alleys, and city edges, America's invisible population is reaching its limit. Costs skyrocket, laws tighten, and the RVs people depend on are falling apart faster than they can repair them. 2026 becomes the year the country is forced to face the truth. Millions are living on wheels, and those wheels are coming off. In 2026, RV repossessions are projected to reach levels the industry has never seen, driven largely by collapsing household budgets and rising loan delinquencies. During the pandemic boom, more than 600,000 RVs per year were sold in 2021 and 2022, many financed with 10 to 15-year loans at artificially low rates. As interest rates surged from 3% to over 8 to 11%, monthly payments spiked, and thousands of working families who bought RVs as affordable housing alternatives suddenly couldn't keep up. Industry analysts report that RV loan delinquencies jumped 32% in 2024, 46% in 2025, and are on track to exceed 55% in 2026, especially for buyers with subprime credit. Floor plan loans, used by dealerships to finance unsold inventory, are also defaulting at historic rates, with some lenders calling in debt early and seizing lots full of RVs. This starts a chain reaction. Dealers shut down, inventory floods the market, values fall, and underwater owners walk away from their loans. As repossessions accelerate, lenders increasingly refuse to restructure loans, forcing people who already live in their RVs into instant houselessness. Once repossessed, an RV becomes a towed asset, not a home. Families lose their shelter in minutes. This creates a rapid expansion of street homelessness, especially in western states where RV living has been most common. The scale of repossessions in 2026 marks an unprecedented collapse of vehicle-based housing stability. Starting in early 2026, multiple states, including Oregon, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, Arizona, and parts of California, rolled out sweeping anti-camping and anti-vehicle dwelling laws that dramatically change how RV homelessness is policed. These aren't isolated city ordinances anymore. They are statewide enforcement directives with strict fines, towing mandates, and 24 to 48-hour relocation requirements. Idaho's 2026 legislation allows towing after one warning notice, while Colorado now enforces a zero overnight street parking rule in certain counties. Oregon's Public Health Clearance Act increased fines from $75 to $265 per violation, and many cities now bill RV dwellers for cleanup, towing, and impound fees that exceed $1,200. Because RVs are classified as vehicles, not residences, police can remove them without eviction court processes. In Nevada, the number of RV to impound tows increased 79% from 2023 to 2025. And projections show that 2026 may double that again as new rules are enforced. Officials argue these actions are necessary for sanitation and safety, but residents feel the real goal is displacement. Towing an RV is effectively the destruction of someone's home. Once an impound, storage fees reach $100 to $150 per day, making retrieval impossible for low-income families. By mid-2026, advocates estimate that more than 38,000 RV dwellers in western states will lose their homes due to enforcement, not financial repossessions, making this one of the strongest forces pushing the crisis to a breaking point. Safe parking programs, once a lifeline for vehicle dwellers, are shutting down nationwide just as demand hits its highest levels. In 2023, more than 130 U.S. cities operated some form of safe lot. By late 2025, that number fell below 80, and by mid-2026, it's expected to drop under 60, despite the rise in RV homelessness. These closures stem from funding shortages, community resistance, insurance liabilities, and land use battles. Los Angeles closed 40% of its safe lots due to budget cuts. Seattle allowed only 2 remaining lots by 2026 after neighborhood complaints surged. San Diego reduced capacity from 180 spaces to just 60, leaving hundreds of families waiting months for a spot. Smaller cities simply eliminated programs entirely, stating that vehicle residency cannot be a long-term housing strategy. Meanwhile, demand for these spaces has exploded dramatically. Denver saw a 140% increase in applications for safe parking in 2025 alone. Phoenix reported a waiting list of 900-plus families seeking overnight stability. Without safe lots, RV dwellers are forced back onto city streets, where new anti-parking laws quickly push them out again. This creates a cycle of non-stop relocation that destroys stability. Lost jobs, kids missing school, medical treatments interrupted, and families unable to maintain basic routines. As safe parking disappears in 2026, thousands lose the one structured support system that kept them from falling deeper into homelessness, creating a tipping point that cities are not prepared to manage. By 2026, the cost of RV repair has reached levels that make maintenance nearly impossible for low-income RV dwellers. While the average RV service appointment cost $140 per hour in 2020, labor in 2026 ranges from $195 to $240 per hour due to technician shortages and inflation. Parts are even worse. Water pumps that cost $85 in 2019 now sell for $220 to $260, and simple roof resealing jobs that once cost $1,200 now exceed $3,200 to $4,000. More than 70% of RVs lived in full-time are over 15 years old, meaning they require constant repairs. For people living paycheck to paycheck, a single breakdown is financially catastrophic. Supply chain instability is also prolonging service times significantly. Repair shops report average wait times of 6 to 8 weeks, and warranty coverage, if it exists, often excludes wear and tear issues common in older rigs. Manufacturers have reduced warranty support after widespread company closures in 2024 to 2025, leaving owners with expensive repairs they cannot afford. When RVs become unrepairable, families end up living in unsafe, mold-infested, or non-functional rigs that cities deem inhabitable hazards and tow immediately. Others abandon their RVs and move into cars or tents. The escalating cost of repairs in 2026 ensures that once an RV breaks, it may never be fixed, turning mechanical failure into immediate homelessness for tens of thousands. Meteorologists predict that winter 2026 will be one of the harshest in over a decade, with prolonged cold fronts hitting states unprepared for freezing temperatures. The National Weather Service projects 20 to 30% colder averages across the Pacific Northwest and Mountain West, with nighttime temperatures regularly dropping below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. For RV dwellers, many living in older rigs with thin insulation and failing heaters, this is life-threatening. Hypothermia deaths among vehicle dwellers have already risen 62% since 2020, and emergency shelters report a 200% increase in requests for heating assistance. Many RV owners rely on propane for heat, but a tank that cost $18 in 2020 now costs $28 to $35, and cold weather requires refilling every 2 to 3 days. With towing crackdowns pushing RVs away from stable parking spots, families are forced to spend more time driving, burning fuel instead of staying warm. Frozen pipes, dead batteries, and furnace failures become constant emergencies. A broken furnace repair can reach $1,500 to $2,500, far beyond what struggling families can handle. As states eliminate overnight parking, many people will face freezing conditions without access to electricity, insulated lots, or safe shelters. RVs simply are not designed to withstand harsh, extended cold. Winter 2026 may be the point where thousands cannot physically survive in their vehicles, pushing the crisis into a humanitarian emergency that demands immediate intervention. By 2026, insurance companies have tightened risk assessments and are dropping older RVs from coverage at staggering rates. Insurers report significant losses due to rising claims from fires, storms, break-ins, and mechanical failures. As a result, many companies now refuse to insure rigs older than 12 to 15 years, leaving an estimated 400,000 plus RV dwellers without basic protection. Even for those who qualify, premiums have jumped dramatically. Full coverage on a used Class C that cost $450 annually in 2020 now averages $1,200 to $1,800 in 2026. Liability-only coverage, once as low as $120 per year, now exceeds $350 to $600, depending on the state. High crime and high homelessness areas, such as Portland, Denver, Phoenix, and Sacramento, face even higher rates or outright refusals from insurance providers. Without insurance, families cannot legally park in many campgrounds, enter certain cities, or drive long distances. Worse, if their RV is towed or damaged, they have no financial protection. An uninsured rig that burns, crashes, or is impounded becomes a total loss, instantly turning its occupants into unsheltered, homeless individuals. Some cities have begun requiring proof of insurance for long-term RV parking, making thousands ineligible for any legal spots. By 2026, insurance access becomes a gatekeeper for survival. If you can't insure your RV, you can't keep your home. This dynamic alone pushes a massive wave of people toward the breaking point. Between 2024 and 2026, the U.S. economy experienced significant layoffs across retail, warehouse, trucking, delivery, hospitality, and manufacturing, industries where millions of working-class families are employed. By late 2025, total layoffs surpassed 1.8 million, and projections suggest 2026 may surpass 2 million, especially as automation expands and consumer spending declines. Layoffs hit the exact demographic most vulnerable to housing instability: workers already on thin margins with rising rent, car loans, medical debt, and inflation-driven costs. Many families used RVs as temporary emergency housing after losing apartments, but then couldn't recover enough income to transition back. Trucking in particular experienced a major contraction. More than 4,500 trucking companies collapsed between 2023 and 2025, pushing tens of thousands of drivers into unemployment. Warehouse layoffs, especially at Amazon and major logistics hubs, added to the crisis, with 50,000-plus warehouse workers losing jobs in 2025 alone. When income disappears, people default on RV loans, fall behind on campground payments, and can't afford repairs, fuel, or insurance. Unemployed workers often relocate to warmer states like Arizona, Nevada, or California, creating concentrated RV homelessness zones that cities then aggressively target with enforcement actions. Mass layoffs are a core driver of why 2026 becomes the breaking point. Families who were financially stable just a year prior now face total collapse, with RVs becoming their last remaining shelter, and even that slipping away rapidly. By 2026, the U.S. affordable housing supply has reached its lowest point in modern history. Vacancy rates in major cities are hovering around 2.8%, the lowest since the 1980s. In some regions, Denver, Seattle, Phoenix, and most of California, the vacancy rate for affordable units is effectively 0%, meaning families who lose housing have nowhere to go. Rent prices continue to climb dramatically. National median rents rose 31% between 2020 and 2025, and another 6 to 9% increase is expected in 2026. In many cities, a basic one-bedroom now costs $1,800 to $2,400, far beyond what low-income workers, retirees, or single parents can afford. Housing subsidies and Section 8 vouchers are backlogged for years. Los Angeles reports over 300,000 families on wait lists. Denver's waitlist is closed indefinitely. Phoenix has 70,000-plus people waiting for assistance with no projected reopen date. When housing is both unaffordable and unavailable, people turn to vehicles. But as RV homelessness increases, cities push them out, leaving them with no legal or affordable alternatives. Shelters are also overwhelmed and operating beyond capacity. Many operate at 110 to 130% capacity, forcing people to sleep outside or in vehicles even when seeking help. This structural collapse of affordable housing is what sets the stage for 2026 being the breaking point. RV dwellers are not choosing RVs. They simply have no pathway back into traditional rentals, regardless of income or effort. Campgrounds and RV parks were once affordable alternatives for people transitioning out of traditional housing, but by 2026, long-term site prices have become completely out of reach. In 2018, a monthly RV site with hookups averaged $450 to $650. In 2026, those same sites now cost $900 to $1,500, with premium parks charging $1,800 to $2,400, more than many apartments. Campgrounds justify price increases due to inflation, insurance hikes, property taxes, and soaring demand from both full-time RVers and displaced families. Additionally, Many RV parks have shifted their business model toward short-term vacation travelers because nightly rates of $80 to $150 generate far more revenue than long-term residents paying monthly rates. Some parks have eliminated long-term stays entirely, forcing RV dwellers back onto city streets. Others require credit checks, background checks, proof of income, and full insurance, barriers that exclude most low-income RV residents. Meanwhile, waitlists for affordable parks have exploded dramatically. Popular states like Arizona, Texas, Florida, and Nevada report 6 to 12-month waits for monthly sites. Because campgrounds have become financially inaccessible, thousands of families are pushed into unregulated street camping, which cities are rapidly outlawing. This forces RV dwellers into a cycle of parking violations, towing threats, and overnight relocations. As RV park prices hit record highs in 2026, the affordable RV lifestyle becomes a myth. Without stable places to legally park, the crisis reaches a new level of instability. Seniors are now the fastest-growing demographic entering RV homelessness, a dramatic shift accelerating the crisis in 2026. Rising rents, fixed incomes, and the collapse of affordable senior housing have created a situation where older Americans can no longer remain in traditional housing. More than 700,000 seniors in the U.S. are now living in RVs, vans, or cars, an increase of over 250% compared to 2010. Social Security averages just $1,540 per month, while the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in 2026 is around $1,900 to $2,200. Seniors simply cannot cover housing, medical costs, food, and utilities on fixed income. Retirement savings have also been depleted significantly. Rising medical costs, inflation, and stock market volatility wiped out nest eggs for millions. Many seniors purchased older RVs as a last resort, believing they could live cheaply. But as RV repair costs, campground fees, and insurance soared, they found themselves trapped. Health decline makes their situation even more dangerous. Many lack access to electricity for oxygen machines, climate control, or mobility device charging. Cities report rising medical emergencies among senior RV dwellers, especially during winter and heat waves. As more seniors lose their homes and cannot re-enter the housing market, the humanitarian aspect of the crisis deepens. 2026 may be the year the nation finally confronts the reality that elderly Americans are living and dying in vehicles at record rates. School districts across the country are reporting unprecedented increases in students living in RVs, vans, and cars, transforming RV homelessness into a family crisis. Under the McKinney-Vento Act, children without stable housing, including those in vehicles, must be counted. In 2025, the number of vehicle-housed students exceeded 240,000 nationwide, and projections suggest that 2026 will surpass 300,000, the highest in U.S. history. Families turn to RVs after losing apartments due to rent hikes, job loss, medical bills, or eviction. RVs provide privacy and shelter, but instability is constant. Kids often switch schools multiple times per year because parking laws force families to relocate every few days. Teachers report rising rates of chronic absenteeism, sleep deprivation, and mental health challenges among vehicle-housed students. Without electricity, children struggle to complete homework or keep devices charged. Showers and laundry facilities are inconsistent, creating social challenges at school. Many families try parking near schools for stability, but cities are increasingly banning overnight parking near public buildings. Some children sleep in freezing RVs during winter or in overheated rigs during summer because families lack access to climate control. As 2026 brings intensified enforcement and rising living costs, more children are expected to end up in vehicles. This shift reveals the depth of the crisis. RV homelessness is no longer a fringe adult population, but a rapidly growing group of American families with school-aged children. For RV dwellers, 2026 brings an unprecedented level of forced movement. New city and state laws require relocation every 24 to 72 hours, depending on the region. This constant displacement erodes psychological stability, leading to sharp increases in anxiety, depression, sleep disruption, and trauma among vehicle-housed individuals. When people must move constantly, they lose access to routine entirely. Jobs become harder to maintain. Medical appointments are missed. Children's school attendance becomes inconsistent. Losing a stable place to sleep causes cortisol levels to spike, contributing to chronic stress and long-term health deterioration. Advocacy organizations report that mental health crises among RV dwellers have tripled since 2020. In states like Oregon and Colorado, mobile crisis units increasingly respond to RV encampments experiencing distress from towing threats, nighttime police knocks, or exposure during extreme weather. The psychological impact is worsened by isolation and disconnection. Many RV dwellers avoid shelters out of fear of theft or losing their rig. Some live alone without community support systems, leading to rising reports of suicide attempts among displaced individuals. For families, relationships strain under constant stress. Parents who can't find stable parking struggle to protect their children from instability. Couples face increasing conflict as survival replaces normal life. By 2026, mental health implications become so severe that relocation rules aren't just an inconvenience. They become a public health crisis that further pushes RV homelessness toward collapse. A massive portion of RVs currently used as housing are near or beyond their usable lifespan. Most rigs built in the 1990s and early 2000s were never designed for full-time living, and now, 20 to 30 years later, structural failure is becoming widespread. More than 55% of RVs lived in full-time are over 20 years old, and another 25% are over 15 years old. Many rigs require repairs exceeding their value. A roof replacement, for example, costs $5,000 to $12,000, while entire RVs in this age range often sell for under $4,000. When RVs fail, families face imminent homelessness. Cities classify damaged rigs as unsafe dwellings, subject to immediate towing. A rig that can't drive or can't heat is considered abandoned, even if the family is still inside. Tow companies report a 70% increase in RV scrapping between 2022 and 2025, and projections for 2026 indicate this number may double. Many families try patch repairs, but materials like sealants, plywood, insulation, and wiring have also skyrocketed in cost. As thousands of aging RVs reach the end of life simultaneously, families lose the only housing they have, pushing the crisis toward a breaking point by sheer mechanical exhaustion of the vehicles themselves. The RV housing stock is literally falling apart. Fuel prices, which had briefly stabilized, are projected to rise significantly in 2026 due to global supply disruptions, refinery shortages, and seasonal demand spikes. Analysts predict average gasoline prices climbing to $4.20 to $4.80 per gallon, with West Coast states exceeding $5.50. For diesel, projections show $4.80 to $6, directly impacting RVs that rely on larger tanks. For RV dwellers who must move constantly to avoid towing, higher fuel costs are devastating. Some RVs require 60 to 100 gallons per fill-up, making relocation prohibitively expensive. Even short moves, 3 to 5 miles at a time, add up quickly when required multiple times per week. Fuel costs also affect basic survival dramatically. Every movement becomes a financial burden. Families report spending 30 to 50% of their monthly income on fuel alone. As states increase parking enforcement, movement becomes mandatory, not optional. A family that cannot afford to drive risks fines, towing, and losing their RV entirely. Higher fuel prices also push people farther from city centers, worsening access to grocery stores, medical care, and employment opportunities. By 2026, rising fuel costs turn relocation into an unsustainable expense, trapping RV dwellers in a cycle where staying put is illegal and moving is unaffordable. The financial pressure compounds all other challenges. Public pressure to address visible homelessness has intensified dramatically, especially in Western states. Business owners complain about RVs blocking storefronts, neighborhoods petition for removals, and city councils face relentless pressure to restore safety. Social media amplifies frustrations, often portraying RV dwellers as threats rather than displaced families. As a result, cities escalate enforcement significantly. Community surveys show 67% of residents in major metros support stricter parking laws. In Portland, over 20,000 complaints were filed in 2025, specifically about vehicle dwellers. San Diego reported over 12,000 RV-related complaints in a single year. Denver saw complaints rise 300% since 2020. This pressure directly influences policy. Cities shorten parking limits, expand no parking zones, increase fines, deploy towing teams, and pressure states to adopt anti-camping legislation. Officials often justify crackdowns as public health measures, but the driving force is resident outrage. While some RV dwellers do leave trash or abandoned vehicles, the vast majority simply cannot access dumpsters, showers, or legal parking. Without infrastructure, visibility becomes the grounds for removal. By 2026, political will is leaning heavily toward aggressive removal rather than supportive housing solutions. This shift pushes the crisis to a breaking point. RV dwellers are caught between resident pressure and government enforcement, with no shelter alternatives available. The public narrative focuses on removal rather than support. Many of the emergency programs that temporarily cushioned Americans during and after the pandemic have expired, leaving vulnerable families with no safety net in 2026. Federal rental assistance programs that distributed billions between 2021 and 2023 have ended. Enhanced unemployment benefits are gone. Stimulus checks are a distant memory. Meanwhile, federal housing initiatives remain underfunded significantly. Only 1 in 4 eligible Americans receives housing assistance. Funding for the Housing Choice Voucher Program, Section 8, has stagnated despite a 40% increase in rent nationwide. HUD's homeless housing budget has not kept pace with the 32% increase in homelessness since 2020. Programs designed to help RV dwellers specifically are almost non-existent. Federal law still classifies RVs as vehicles, not dwellings, meaning they receive no tenant protections, housing rights, or relocation assistance. Emergency housing vouchers issued during the pandemic helped over 100,000 families, but nearly all funding has been exhausted, and renewal is uncertain. With eviction protections gone, landlords have increased removals dramatically. Eviction filings in major metros are 30 to 40% above pre-pandemic levels, pushing more individuals into vehicles. By 2026, the mismatch between federal funding and the scale of the crisis becomes undeniable. As safety nets disappear and housing costs climb, RV living shifts from a temporary solution to a permanent form of homelessness, one the system is not structured to address. The breaking point isn't coming in 2026. It's already happening right in front of us. What you're seeing in your city, and how this crisis is affecting real people where you live. Tell us in the comments. And don't miss our next video where we break down the next wave of laws set to hit RV dwellers across America.